Welcome to WagerTalk TV. My name is Kelly Stewart, and today I'm joined by Andy Lang of WagerTalk.com. We're going to go over 3 tips that you need to know before betting props in those daily sports, NBA, NHL, MLB. Andy, give me your number 1.
Well, we're talking about daily sports, and it's important to make sure that we're not using these on all sports. These are the sports that are taking place every day, like MLB, NBA, and NHL. And we've got a couple examples, but the basic strategy behind this is we're not looking for props that we just play one time. We're looking for props that we can play multiple games in a row. We're looking for lines that the books are giving us night in and night out, and we look for a line that a player is consistently hitting it. This could be an over or it could be an under. So when I break down these props, I'm not looking for props and just hoping to go 1-0. Those will occasionally happen if we get a great line. I'm looking for a play that I can play 4, 5, 6, 7 times in a row and hopefully go like 5-2, 4-1, and collect some units at the end of that streak. So the first example we're going to take a look at is one that myself and clients used, and it was one of the better ones for in the 2023-24 NBA season. This is LeBron James, and the line on his made 3-pointers was set at 1.5. So when we take a look here around January 19th, we see him go on one of these little streaks here where the books kept putting out a very reasonable line around minus 120, over under 1.5 made 3-pointers. So Kelly, let's take a look at his game log here. And you see starting on the 19th, he goes over. He goes 2 of 5, 3 of 8, 3 of 4, 2 of 4, and 2 of 5. Now that has my attention because we just hit that prop 5 games in a row. But what I loved is the attempts. He wasn't going 2 of 2. He was going 2 of 5. He was getting 5, 4, and 8 field goal attempts from 3-pointers. So I looked at that and noticed that the books were putting out the same line every single night and thought, let's just try and play this night in and night out. And again, we're going for the streak. Doesn't matter if we lose 1 or 2. We're hoping for a long-term streak here. So let's take that January 30th game against Atlanta. We play the over, and he goes over, goes 2 of 6. Next game against the Knicks, he goes over. So now we're 2-0. The next game against Charlotte has a bad shooting night, 0 for 5. So our streak is now 2-1. But we're going to come right back to it. And look what he does. He goes over the next 3 games. So we've now just ripped off a 5-1 streak on his props. And if you want to extend that out, he goes 0-3 from the All-Star game. We're obviously not betting that. But he goes over against San Antonio, Phoenix, the Los Angeles Clippers, and the Washington Wizards. 4 regular season games in a row. That was a 9-1 streak that the books gave us the exact same number. LeBron's attempts were good, and his makes were getting over. What happened the very next game against Denver? The books made that move to 2.5 3-pointers, and he went under 3 games in a row. Doesn't matter. We had that streak, and we went 9-1, and you could have gotten off the streak at 5-1. You could have said, I'm done with this streak. I got a 5-1 streak. I'm going to take my profits and move on to the next one. So that is one that we used in the NBA. We'll give you another one that we used in the NHL this year. We're looking at Marcus Johansson of the Minnesota Wild, and we are looking at his points props. Will he have a point? Yes or no? So I want to take a look at December here for Marcus Johansson. You notice he had 3 goals and 9 assists. He had a really, really good month of December. And so you would look at that and you would say, okay, he's having really, really good success here. What are we going to do with him? Well, when you go and look at his stats, that was kind of an outlier of a month. So we knew that there was going to be some kind of regression coming back. And sure enough, let's take a look at what happens once he gets into January. He goes 2 games without a point, has a point against Columbus, 2 more games without a point, and then a game against Flyers with a point. So he goes from a really hot December, and then he starts off January with 2 games with a point, 4 games without a point. So we immediately start taking him to not have a point, and look what happens with that streak. He immediately doesn't have a point in 5 straight games. He gets a point, and we come right back to it, and he rips off another 6 games in a row without a point. So night in and night out, we were just playing the same thing until the books make an adjustment on the line or they juice us out of the markets. That's the key to betting these props on these daily sports. You're not looking for the play that's only going to hit one time. We want a streak that's going to give us 5, 6, 7 winners as opposed to only 1 or 2 losses. And that is my number one tip, Kelly, for betting props on these daily sports.
Andy, I love it. If you guys are not following Andy at Bump Sports on X or Andy Lang Bets on Instagram, you're missing out on a ton of free advice right now. Tips 25, that gets you 25% off one of Andy's daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly packages. Tips 25 over at WagerTalk.com. Andy, can you tell me something I always want to know? Why do you always give it back after a winning streak?
Why do we always give it back after a winning streak? Well, it all comes down to math. And there's a little bit of math and there's a little bit of ego, but let's take some of the best winning percentages in the world. Kelly, and you know this, the best gamblers in the world, if you're laying a minus 110 to minus 120, if you hit 57 or 58% of your bets, you're going to have a very, very successful career. So what happens when we go on one of these massive winning streaks? Well, it's basic math. We're going to regress back to the mean. I get terrified when I go on an incredible winning streak. And I don't mean a winning streak like 10-7 or 12-6. I mean one of these streaks where you just can't miss and you go 14-2. The reason is, if our goal is to hit 57 to 58% of our bets and we go on a streak where we're hitting 80%, the math tells you you are due for regression. The problem is when we go on one of these huge winning streaks, we are really feeling ourselves, aren't we? 14-2. I can't miss. So what do? We increase the size of our wager and we increase the amount of bets. When you're on a huge winning streak, I like to lower the amount of bets and I like to lower the units because the math says we are going to regress back to the mean. I will do a little bit of math here, Kelly. Let's say you have a $2,000 bankroll. Let's say you bet $100 on 10 bets and you win them all. So you've just won $1,000. You've increased your bankroll from $2,000 to $3,000. Now you're thinking, this is great. This is so easy. How can I miss? So you increase that $100 to $200. Now regression hits and the cold streak hits and you regress back. So let's say you lose the next 4 bets. Well, you've increased your wager from 100 to 200. So in your next 4 bets, you've just lost $800. Even though you have a winning record over your last 14 bets, you're 10-4, you're only up a couple $100 because your ego got in the way and you didn't pay attention to the regression that was coming. Then let's say the regression happens a little bit more and you go on a 2-6 streak. Your bankroll is now less than when you started before you hit that hot streak. So one of the ways that bettors give all of their winnings back is they get a little too confident and they're not aware that regression is absolutely coming. So when you go on one of those insane hot streaks where I can't miss over the last week, I can't miss over the last 2 weeks, that's the time where you want to pull back because the math is undefeated. You're never going to continue hitting at that extreme rate. And once you increase that bet and you increase the volume, you're just going to be doomed. So take care of your bankroll when you go on one of those crazy winning streaks, which we've all been on, Kelly. We've all done it where we just can't miss. Just know that the regression is coming and you got to be prepared for that. So that's why we always give it back after an insane hot winning streak.
Andy, you are so right. The math is undefeated. You know what? Love doing videos with Andy. Make sure you guys follow him on at Bump Sports on X, and on Instagram at Andy Lang Bets. You can also get 25% off one of his all access packages that is 1 day to 1 full year using coupon code TIPS25 at WagerTalk.com. Thank you, Andy.